First project might take a year. These certain keywords, right, that you keep hearing in corporate, and these are basically the keywords that you are measured against. And some of these keywords are, and another way I think engineers are able to display their expertise is, so in your base salary, I've seen people get anywhere from 50%. Hey everyone, so I have some pretty big news. I got promoted to L4 software engineer at Google, which is sort of like the SG2 equivalent, industry equivalent in Google. Hitting L4 is an awesome milestone, but it was so much more than writing just code, right? Like it required a fundamental shift in how I thought about engineering, right? And in fact, that shift has tenfolded, right? With the introduction of the agentic AI coders that we have, and how that has changed like the software engineering job role in its fundamentals. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how I navigated that ambiguity, and the challenges, and honestly how I navigated a little bit of luck. That is very important. Today is a bit of a life update. I'm going to be talking about how I managed all the challenges that got me this promotion, and what are the sort of metrics that people look at, right, when they are assessing a very junior software engineer, and what you need to do to get to that next level. I'm also going to be talking about the pay increase that you get, which is substantial from L3 to L4. And do stick around till the end, because I also want to talk about the future of this channel and how and what I have planned in the future. Oh, and you should probably subscribe to the channel right now, because navigating Google's promo process was definitely hard, but figuring out the YouTube algorithm is slowly draining my soul. So please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so to give you guys some context, my career started out at Morgan Stanley, where I was an SD1 basically, and I spent just under a year there. I think just exactly a year, and that built the foundation for me to crack the Google interviews, and that is when I joined Google. I think it was last year January is when I joined, 2025 January. And I joined as an L3 software engineer, which is the first level, right? Which is the first level that you can, which is the most junior level as a software engineer that you can enter Google at. Now, when you come in as an L3, your expectation is very sorted, right? You are given a well-defined task, and your job is only to execute. Your job is only to write code. Basically, a big expectation from you is to just write a lot of code, to just ship features as fast as possible and just write the code for it all, right? So it's kind of like how I am assigning you this task of hitting the like button. So you should figure out how to do that. But to get to L4, execution isn't enough, and I think this goes for every organization, and this is like a general principle, which sort of states like, for you to be promoted to the next level, you should already be functioning at that level, right? Which honestly sort of makes sense, because people want to trust that you can function at that next level. So if you're already there, and it's been 2-3 months and you're already functioning at that level, then it definitely makes a strong appearance, right? Now the next level will be different for most of us, right? For me, it went from just writing code and executing well-defined tasks to actually moving to the next level, to think about what we need to implement, why we need to implement that, and then when the answer of what needs to be implemented is defined, then you try to figure out what are different ways you can implement it. You weigh all the options, weigh all the architectural options, their pros and cons, and that is where the job sort of, the requirements, the expectations change. They upgrade from an L3 to an L4. Like you have to write design docs and explain your technical choices to much senior people, and people who've been in an organization for a long and much longer than you. So yeah, they definitely know a hell of a lot more, and you have to explain your technical choices, get feedback from them, and yeah, it's a truly an amazing learning curve. I really like this next section. Basically, I'm going to be talking about these certain keywords, right, that you keep hearing in corporate, and these are basically the keywords that you are measured against. And some of these keywords are impact, visibility, then influence, and your expertise as well, right? And everybody loves throwing around these words, like for example, what is the impact of your project, and I cannot emphasize how important that is, right? And as a junior software engineer, you actually do not have control over what kind of project you're doing. But no matter what anyone says, right, if you're working on something that does not have a lot of impact versus something that has a lot of impact, and maybe it's not even that technically challenging from the first project, but second one will always win, because it has people waiting for the solution, right? Basically, you gotta answer this question: what is the impact of your project, right? But ideally, in most companies, you should not be working on something that has no impact, but in a very ideal and real world, there are always low and high priority projects, right? And you have no control as a junior software engineer what you are going to be assigned, especially somebody that who is just joining the company, right? You've not even like proven your work or build those relationships for people to understand that okay, this guy can handle this or whatever, right? So when you're just joining the org, you have absolutely zero control, and that first project might take an year, and at the end of that year, if you think that oh, this had no impact, then it'll definitely be a loss for you. Now this is a direct measure of the importance of the problem that you are solving, right? For example, that importance can be measured by how many clients that you are unblocking by the solution that you build. Basically, how many people you are helping with that solution, and even if it's just one client, how important is that client, right? So all these things combine to define the impact of your project, which is very important. But let's be completely real for a second, right? We can talk about these big words, impact, expertise, etc. all day long, but a lot, in fact, I think quite a significant chunk of that promotion decision comes from things like luck, relationships, that you build with your manager, with your peers, with your teammates, and stuff like that. But even as a junior software engineer, right, if you do actually get assigned a lower priority or a low impact work, you can't complain about it. All you got to do is just keep your head down and just execute, right? Because that is a sort of expectation from you, because everybody knows that an L3 is not choosing his or her projects, right? They get assigned whatever they had to do, and now the judgment is on how well were you able to execute it. So you just put down your head and execute and build relationships and build trust, more importantly, that you can solve that problem, because ultimately it is those relationships and those trust that will redirect the high priority or the high impact work in the future to you. Because once, let's say, even if you are on a low impact project and you put your head down, you get the work done, and you build that trust that okay, this guy can do more and iterate at a much faster velocity. So then the higher impact work will automatically find you, right? Because people will already trust you, and people will know that they can give that work to you. And another way I think engineers are able to display their expertise is through on-call rotations, basically. And for somebody who does not know what an on-call rotation is, in most big tech companies, right, if you're working on a client-facing product, even if it's not very client-facing, right, even if I'm supporting an internal team that in itself is client facing, so then my tier will probably be a bit less. Maybe I will not be needed to respond in 5 minutes, maybe I have 30 minutes to respond, but basically you are on call for that product, so that any production live issues come, somebody's there to mitigate those issues and look at them. And yeah, that really builds expertise and trust. Again, as a junior engineer as well, you are eligible to enroll to participate in the on-call rotation, and that is something I did as well, and I think it has brought a lot of learnings and a lot of trust towards me as well. So yeah, that is also one thing that really helped in the process. Now, speaking of building trust, I am actually trying to build a lot of trust with the YouTube algorithm. So hitting that subscribe button is your way of supporting that trust and relationship. Now, there is another very cool feature within Google, and I think in a lot of companies, which is called as a 20% project. Basically, what they encourage is that you go around and see for 20% opportunities, right, outside of your team. Let's say you're working in Google Core on your actual team, your project, but you're also simultaneously working on a 20% project in Google Cloud with a team based in the US, right? It is difficult to manage because sometimes it's not 80-20, it's 120. But it really broadens your view on the organization as a whole, and it gives you a lot of experience, and of course it gives you something to put in your resume and your promotion doc, right? So yeah, this is something I did as well. During my first year, I contributed to two 20% projects, which took a couple of months each, but it was a great experience. Like, the first one was a very deep C++ static analysis thing, right? And the second one was a completely separate Python based MCP project that they were building out in the US. So this is completely different experiences because my team codes in C++, right? So this was all new experiences and new relationships and new feedbacks that I got from new people. which really helps a lot in this whole process. So if the impact is directly not on your desk, there is ample opportunity for you to just go out and find it. Now I know what a lot of you guys want to know. Let's talk about the money. Now, even before I talk about the salary bump that you get from an L3 to an L4, there is another question that I've seen a lot, is that do we get extra payment for being on call? And the answer is yes. I'm not sure if this is industry wide, but as far as I know, most companies do pay you extra for being on call, because it's out of your working hours, right? And even if it is not, then maybe let's say if the shift is 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the PM, whatever time falls outside of your official working hours, you get paid extra for that. And the payment is also decided by which tier you lie in, right? For example, I talked about this earlier, whether you are required to respond to that alert in 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, or whatever. Every company has its own definitions. But yeah, if you're in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you get paid accordingly. Okay, so I also want to point out that you can book a one-on-one session with me, and I'll paste the link in the description. We can talk about your career, we can talk about the financial advice that I'm doing. Basically, we can talk about anything. If you just want to have a chat, have a quick chat, and discuss a problem that you've been facing, and if I can help you in any way, that'll be really cool. So I'll drop the link in the description of the video, and check it out and book the session if you feel like it. The real financial unlock is the base salary bump that you get from an L3 to an L4. So I'll not drop exact numbers, but I'll just let you know the range in how the hike looks like. So in your base salary, I've seen people get anywhere from 40 to 60% bump on their base salary when they go from an L3 to an L4 software engineer. Basically, it depends a lot on with what salary you're currently on and where is the starting band for a L4, because that is where they'll put. So yeah, that is how it works. Usually in internal promotions, they just bump you up to the lowest band of the next level, which in my case is L4, so that then they're able to steadily increase that salary through normal hike. So yes, the financial upside is really good, and honestly it's required as well, because my current YouTube revenue just about allows me to buy 2 coffees per month. Please subscribe. Now this actually brings me to the final part of this video, the channel update. Now with the L4 promotion comes a lot of more responsibilities, higher expectations, and honestly I think more cognitive load during my office hours. Now managing the channel with the added responsibilities is definitely going to be a more of a grind, but I am committing to keeping at it. Honestly, I think this is something that I've talked about earlier as well in the project YouTube update, how I've seen the personal growth during me building this channel, and how it has sort of helped me in ways that I did not understand, right? And it's not just about the views. Like, it sounds cliche, but these terms like just start and why I am starting YouTube, and why I am keeping at it even if nobody is watching. All these terms, I think these are very famous terms on YouTube, and but they make sense. Honestly, I mean, it liberates you in ways that I did not think were possible, and I've been trying to set up something of my own with this corporate job, and I think this is something that I can actually manage and do for a long time. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. I am committing. I am committed to it. However, the channel has been a bit of a mixed bag in the last couple of months. There is a very steady and slow growth, but obviously not as fast as I would have wanted. Of course, I love making these videos, but it's hard to watch them perform so bad and maybe even have less than 1,000 views or whatever. So I want to hand the mic over to you, and I want you to answer this question. All of you who are currently watching, what do you want this channel to be? Because right now I am juggling between different niches that I am interested in, but I feel like it's sort of becoming like a mixed bag, right? I want to post financial stuff, I want to post tech conversations, I want to post live vlogs and stuff, my learnings as they come, but I feel it's sort of too broad to continue, and yeah, so that is why I want to hear from you guys what you want this channel to be, what you want me to focus on more, and what do you think I am best at. So maybe I can do that. In fact, I've been thinking of trying to live stream as well, on weekends, and maybe we can have once a week stream, and we can just chat and play some game or whatever, right? So please let me know in the comments your feedback actually is going to decide where this channel goes in the future. And thank you guys so much for sticking through the channel during the slow growth period, as well as the mixed bag of videos that I've been posting. And hit subscribe if you haven't done yet, and I'll see you in the next one.